Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, hey everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. I'm Mo Daouk. I'm the VP of Marketing here at DataCandy, and I will be the moderator for today's session. Today, we're diving into a pretty powerful topic that's reshaping how brands are thinking about loyalty. Um, and loyalty, when in the sense of it's not just points and punch cards, but actual real engagement. So today we're going to be exploring, how loyalty programs can tap into social connections. Like how can we actually build stronger communities, drive real retention, and meet the expectation of today's younger consumers, if you will. So our focus is on revolutionizing loyalty programs with social engagement. And in just about 30 to 40 minutes or so, you'll hear about two platforms, Gatsby and DataCandy, and how they're coming together to turn likes, shares, and stories into loyalty drivers. So, joining me today, we have two experts who are sort of at the intersection between loyalty and engagement. First, we have Bernstein, who is the CEO of Gatsby. And Brett's been a pioneer in connecting social media engagement with loyalty programs and platforms. He's helping brands turn their followers into advocates and even into subscribers. Gatsby is all about transforming UGC. UGC is user generated content and influencer marketing into something that's measurable and both scalable. So, welcome, Brett.
Thank you, Mo. That's a great intro.
No problem. Next, we also have Stephanie Golan, who Stephanie is the product owner here at Data Candy, and Stephanie's been leading the charge in loyalty automation, in personalization, and ROI analytics. And she's worked with hundreds of brands and helped them sort of turn their loyalty programs from your basic punch cards into like sort of an omni-channel engagement ecosystem. So yeah, Brett, Stephanie, welcome guys. Thank you both for joining us today.
Yeah, love to be here. Thanks, Mo.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, I want to also thank our live audience members that are joining us today. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. We've actually reserved some time at the end to address them. So we'll have a little bit of a QA session at the end. Okay, awesome. So let's without further ado, let's dive in. I want to start by setting the stage, right? Loyalty programs, they're just not what they used to be, right? And what we're seeing now, and oftentimes, is loyalty is moving from like this transactional based ecosystem. And I want to talk about why that is, right? So I want to talk about why do we think this shift is actually happening now more than ever?
Mhm. Is that for Stephanie to
Yeah,
start that
I
off?
mean, we
Whoever
can
wants to
get
jump
started.
in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're very used to traditional loyalty as we know it today. I earn loyalty to get those discounts, but we really are looking beyond that now, and I think that's where the whole loyalty industry is moving away from. It's really those experiences, non-transactional rewards that really make a loyalty member, feel more special or more attached to the brand itself.
Hmm.
It's been like trending a lot. I think we've talked about in other webinars too, emotional loyalty and how that affects, how you should manage your programs. But all of that is emotions. It's non-transactional. It's not just about the discount either.
And I think the reason for some of this happening now is that we have this direct connection with brands, right?
Mhm.
20, 30 years ago, brands were kind of faceless, right? They were hard to reach. They weren't approachable because you didn't have a direct communication to them. Now you have Instagram. Every brand is on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and other channels, but definitely Instagram.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a consumer can follow that brand, has a direct channel to DM that brand, like the content, comment on the content, and sometimes even hear back from the brand through that channel as well. So the more ways that the brand can open up that communication, eventually own the relationship with that follower, it increases engagement and also increases the lifetime value of that relationship with that consumer. So what we do at Gatsby is we help brands take this audience that they've built and developed through social media and actually own those relationships by converting those followers into their owned channels, which are like email, SMS, and loyalty. So we'll talk about that today. But I think this is a very revolutionary moment in in commerce and history where you can have this communication with your consumers and your brands.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Stephanie, obviously you've worked with a ton of like, loyalty programs and stuff. And we're definitely seeing like it's almost like customer expectations are changing, right? Like especially with the newer generations, like when you're talking Gen Z, you're talking millennials, like it's becoming more of a there's just more expectations from brands, right? Why do you sort of think that is, or how are these things changing?
Yeah, so again, I think it comes back to, we've heard of omni-channel a lot, but essentially we are now having the ability to meet the customer where they are. That's something that wasn't true before. You had to go to the store, you had to go physically to a place to be able to earn those rewards. But now with the Uber Eats and with the mobile and the social aspect of social media, you now really have to make sure that whatever you're putting together as a brand can connect to those customers through all the channels that you have. And that's especially true for loyalty. Like now that you talk about Gen Z, I'm a millennial myself, so I know, as a consumer, I know that I wanted things simple. If I want it on my phone, it's there. If I'm using a specific app, it has to be simple and consumable in that way. But they also, like I mentioned before, they need those experiences, right? Yes, they still like the discount and the rebate, especially in this economical climate, Trump
Hmm.
being who he is and all those tariffs coming in. But it's still true that they need those experiences as well to really feel attached to a brand. And having multiple touch points possible as well, and adding that value through experiences not only builds that loyalty to the discount, which is not what we want. We really want to build that loyalty to the brand and engagement and all that, the great work that Gatsby does, and allowing you to, own those relationships really lets you get there with your loyalty program as well.
Yeah. I want to add actually one thing to that, Mo, too. And I agree with everything Stephanie just said. And I think the reason why now this is happening more than ever is also there's a lot of brands. Anybody on this call today probably understands that more than either any of us, and just the competition, because there are lower barriers to entry in a lot of industries, and there is this direct access to consumers. Um, there is supply chain, enhancements over the years. So you have to stand out. And how do you do that? You do a really good job with your customer relationship. And to Stephanie's point, like it's not just enough anymore to be transaction based, like just to get points for orders, you need to actually build a relationship with them. And social media is one area and aspect of doing that. But again, Data Candy has, the whole solution for building that relationship with loyalty. And what's great is that Gatsby as a component of that, which is the social piece.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I mean, obviously, like when you talk metrics as well, right? It's like you almost wonder like what are the metrics that matter now, right? Like we used to be really focused on, here's your points earned, and here's your redemption, and here's how many points you redeemed, and so on and so forth. But what else? I guess the question that I have for both of you guys is like, what are the other like metrics that brands should be watching now?
So I know Stephanie has some. I want to take first out of this one because I think this really is an opportunity for brands. So to Stephanie's point, she used the word experiences a fair number of times. And to me, an experience translates into something that you remember and you want to share, right? And so if you can make your brand, your product, your physical location, something that is, inspiring and memorable, people are going to want to take a picture, take a little video, share it with their friends. It gives them social capital, right? If they can say, hey, look where I am, or look what I've been able to access, or look at this brand who's looking at me as somebody who I can promote, right? So these are all things that the incentives are aligned between the brand and the consumer if you make a good experience. So one of the metrics that I would definitely be focusing on is shares and engagement. How many people are following your brand, right? Because to Stephanie's point, you don't just follow a company that produces widgets. You follow a company that you align with, right? There's a lot of stuff on my desk right now that I have purchased that I don't even know where they came from or the brands behind them. But there are some things that I definitely do know. And I'm looking at them like my Yeti mug, this really cool toy car that I can resonate with for my child. And so those are the things that stand out to me. And I follow those brands on Instagram. I don't follow the maker of my desk. And so that's what we want to be doing is creating those experiences. Like my Yeti, I might go out on a weekend trip and I'm going to be probably holding that Yeti. And then there's a good chance I might tag Yeti in that, right, in that content. So that's one of the metrics I think is going beyond just selling something, but actually creating that experience and that relationship so somebody wants to share it and follow you.
100%. And I think I think the loyalty program can 100% be a tool in creating that what just bred this experience, right? If you have that direct connection, you know who they are, you know what they buy, because loyalty lets you do all that. You know who they buy, you know their information. It makes it so much easier for you to cater those experiences. And we've been talking about personalization for years, but it is important because we all like to be recognized in some way, and that social capital on social media is as important as my brand knowing who I am, and this brand actually catering the rewards based on what I actually like. So I've heard horror stories of brands. That I'm a woman and you send me all men's clothes for my purchase recommendations, and things like this should basic now is now table stakes and is now basic expectations from a consumer standpoint. But if we also take this engagement and social capital piece to connecting with the loyalty program, then other metrics that become really interesting is not just how many members can I sign up to my program, or how many emails can I collect through great tools like Gatsby or my emailers or other social media tools. It really is about how many of them actually get active in my program. So active members is really an important notion, because you could have 100,000 loyalty members, but if only 20,000 of them or 20% of them come back and actually interact with your brand and actually promote you and actually recommend you and love speaking about their experiences at your locations through their social media, through their Instagram, and are engaging with you, then there is a gap there. So it's not just about numbers. It's also looking at, who is actually actively engaging with my brand, whether that's on social media or through loyalty program metrics.
And that's what's so exciting about what we're going to go over today with our integration between our two tools is now you're able to actually connect the dots between that social engagement and loyalty. So being able to give, well, I don't know if I can give away the secret here or not, but basically giving loyalty points for social interactions. And it's just, now you can finally quantify and measure and incentivize those behaviors.
I love that. I love that because I think you think about loyalty right now, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's great. I have a lot of members, but how many of them are actually active? How many of those members are actually engaging with what we have, the offers that we're putting out, or engaging with the brand at all? So I know we've spoken a lot about like what's broken. I kind of want to start talking about some solutions here. So I'm excited for this segment. I mean, I want to move towards like, let's talk a little bit about like, Brett, I want to hear from you. Like, what is Gatsby? Like, how does it sort of work? Maybe kind of give us like the high level of like how you're helping brands reward social engagement.
Yeah, definitely. So, I've been running Gatsby now. I'm the founder, CEO. I've been running it for like 9 years. And in that period of time, the world has changed a fair amount. And so we've definitely kind of figured out opportunities of where brands are sort of asking us to build things. And very quickly after I launched the company and we started to find where we were going, we had a pretty large company ask us to build a loyalty integration because they wanted to do what I just mentioned a moment ago, which is incentivize and acknowledge and track when their customers are engaging with them on social media, right? So points for mentions is like the simplest way to say it. Points for mentions, points for following you, points for providing you with their handle so you know who you're interacting with at a more deeper personalization level. So that's what we do now is we help brands connect the dots between their social environment and what I call their owned channels, which in brief is email, SMS, and loyalty. So brands are spending tons of money, tons of resources, and tons of time on their social media, and a lot of it is on Instagram. And it's kind of mind-boggling to me that that whole ecosystem in many ways is actually separated from the other channels that you're managing, which is oftentimes loyalty and then email and SMS marketing. And the reason for that is going back 5, 6 years, maybe even more now. It was called the Cambridge Analytica sort of situation or scandal, and as a result of that, Meta changed their APIs significantly, and the amount of data that they're exposing went down quite a bit. And so one of those data points that they took away from the ecosystem was email address. So there's really no way to identify somebody's email address from their social handle. So the email address is really the key. That's how you can get them into your, you can cut the dots between their support requests they've sent you, the emails they've sent you or they've received, again, SMS, and of course their loyalty program. So Gatsby has built really awesome automations that allow consumers like your followers on Instagram to provide you with their email address or their phone number and then opt into your program, whether it be loyalty or email or SMS. So once you have them opting in from Instagram, now you connect the dots between email and social handle. And then at that point, Gatsby goes and tracks all that engagement for your brand, sends those events to DataCandy, so you can then automatically reward them for taking actions that you're encouraging them to take. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. It's like yeah, like the identifier. Yeah, it used to be the email, right? And then with that going away, it's like you need something else. But that's amazing. Steph, I want to talk about Data Candy as well. Like, how is Data Candy enhancing or automating like the experience when it comes to someone actually being engaged?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks to, what Gatsby has done here, we really are able to then leverage that handle to connect the dots with your loyalty program. So those members that provide their Instagram handle in their profile, we now know who they are, and we're able to connect the Gatsby experience with the Data Candy experience. And by tracking that together, then we are easily able to track, what are they doing on Instagram for your brand, and then converting that into what do you want to reward. So we've built a lot of different trigger points in which you can decide to reward a member for their actions on Instagram. So that includes, like you said, mentioning, of course, tagging, or what we call tagging. People call it differently in Canada and the US, but you can tag the brand. You can, of course, even go down to the specific hashtag you want them to use. So by using a hashtag, for a specific promotional event or for a grand opening weekend, you can even cater your engagement towards what you really want to matter for your brand and what you want the buzz to be generated around on Instagram. Following a brand also generates points. So that precious follow is not just, I added you to my Instagram, but it's also I've DM'd you. So we require both because we know the importance of having that real verified communication channel with that person. So it's following and DMing the brand that can also trigger rewards. So
Hmm.
all of those things together really make us work in such a great way with Gatsby.
Okay, I love it. I love it. I think if I'm like far I'm in the audience right now, it's like, hey, like show me, what does this look like, right? Like, what does that integration between these two platforms look like in practice? I mean, I think if we can, maybe I'll flip it over to you, Steph. We'll do a quick demo.
100%. So essentially, I'm going to be sharing my screen for the Data Candy member portal. So this is really how your loyalty member with Data Candy can interact with this offer and these types of rewards. So we do have a nifty section in the offer tab of our member portal. So your members subscribe to your loyalty program, they've registered, they have their loyalty card, and now are just navigating to see what's happening in their offers. So we have a section separate because we still wanted to keep that differentiation between transactional loyalty and non-transactional loyalty. We come back to this, notion a lot because this is really new. Like not a lot of we didn't have that before with Data Candy, and Gatsby helped us realize this is we now are able to reward them not just for their purchases and spending money, but also that social capital that they're gaining our brand, right? So we have different types of offers. Like I said, I have three here. And as you can see, these are locked for the member. So every time they interact with any of their tile, we actually tell them, you want to unlock this reward, then go ahead and provide your Instagram handle to us. And they have an opportunity in our portal, whether that's on mobile or on desktop, to give us their Instagram handle here. So they would enter their handle, and then we'll be able to collect that on our end. And that is connecting both Gatsby and Data Candy together.
So, Steph, going back a little bit here. So this is this
Yes,
view that you're showing us here right now. This is what a loyalty member would see for
exactly.
that brand. Perfect. Got it.
Exactly. So you have, of course, this comes with Data Candy solution, but you have full ability to edit, that visual, to edit that name. You can really play around with those visuals here for your member. Once they've provided that in their profile, they can see right away, okay, I can get 100 points if I follow them and I DM them something. So then I would, as a member, navigate to an Instagram page. In this case, DataCandy, I would go ahead and follow them. And I have a nifty DM or on mobile is also, of course, there, which I would entice me to message them. So then I have set a keyword with Gatsby's toolkit loyalty. So if I tell them email me or DM me loyalty, in a couple of seconds, I'll be able to also set up an auto reply directly that then tells them, hey, thank you for following us. Your points have been added to your account, because all of that is done in real time for us. So by this time, your loyalty member can already see that they've received their points in their loyalty account. And then we also tell them about our next offer, which is, mention us, tag us, and use #loyalty to gain 150 points. So we can utilize this auto reply to enhance this experience within Instagram. So we were talking about omni-channel before. We want to let them know without having to navigate around multiple places that they can earn more by posting on Instagram and using a specific hashtag.
I want to just mention that if, let's say you hadn't followed, so one thing to make sure that everyone understands is DataCandy in this case is your brand. So they'd be DMing your brand. And what's cool here is Stephanie did follow this brand. If she didn't, she wouldn't have got the same reply. So, the Gatsby is actually detecting that they do follow you. Because the one thing that is, I know out there in the world is some loyalty programs offer like, hey, follow us, but all it does is it opens up a window and there's no actual verification of the follow. In this case, Gatsby is verifying that they are following you before delivering this DM and before you get the points as the consumer. Just want to make sure that was definitely people knew that there was that extra layer of verification happening.
That's a great point, Brett. And, we've put a couple of fail-safes around this as well. We all know also that members are smart. Members are able to bypass the rules and get as many points as they want. So we've put fail-safes in place as well in our solution and this integration to help with that. So outside of that, really, this is just a quick snippet of the DataCandy platform and really how, as a client now of DataCandy, you would go on and set up these offers or set up, these kind of point rewards for your members. So really, it's as easy as, uploading your image, then, changes that, setting a name for it, which is the text you see in the member portal, setting your start and end date, however you want it, and then selecting the action you want to reward. So I want to reward their follows or their tags or having them provide their handle in their profile and incentivize that. And if I look at mention, we even have the concept of what media type has more value for you as a brand. So do you value more posts that are permanent in their Instagram page or a customer's Instagram page? Do you value more a reel or more a story? And by also tagging your brand as those marketers out there, that when they tag you, you're able to actually reshare their content. So the goal with this is also to create that user-generated content, create that buzz around your brand, and have them really speak up their experience online. And then, of course, you can decide to enforce a hashtag or not. You can get up to 10 hashtags if you want to be, extra posty with those large Instagram or hashtag sections in the post that we see sometimes. But you can then reward specific keywords that mean something to you. So like I said, a grand opening weekend is such a great example of, hashtag grand opening St. Catherine Street here in Montreal, and then you're able to reward that specifically and create that buzz.
I just love seeing this, Stephanie. Like I was telling you the other day, I actually hadn't seen the back end, and I'm so excited about this integration because this level of granularity is what really makes this so powerful. The ability to give a different level of points for a story, which is, temporary versus a reel, which is a lot higher, intent. Like that means a lot. And then having the hashtag as an add-on, like, I don't know, it's so simple. I'm really proud of what we built together here, and I just am excited. I want to make sure I share that with people here in the audience because this is really, really cool.
I love that. And I think one of the things and I'm assuming this is and this is almost like a question, is when you choose media type and you show that drop down there with whether it's a post, reel, or story, the brand can kind of come back in and change it up You know what I mean? Like maybe they want to focus on posts right now and they just want to get their post up, and maybe next month they want to do something around reels. So you can also switch it up as well and get pretty creative with different offers there.
100%. You can combine them. You can, create them at separate times and really use. And this is something that a lot of. It's funny because when we were piloting this feature, there's so many brands that we worked with as well that weren't necessarily utilizing their social media as loyalty promotion tools. It seems pretty straightforward, but a lot of them barely spoke about loyalty on their Instagram or, on their usual. We're so used to traditional marketing for loyalty and, emailing them and SMSing the occasional offer. But then now this really bridges the gap that we had of, okay, how can I easily make both grow at the same time, both engagement in my social media and engagement in my loyalty program?
I'm wondering. Obviously, we have some numbers, right? I mean, if there's some numbers we can share, I'm curious to know, like, whether it's uplift, retention, engagement improvements. Like, what have we sort of seen from brands that are using this solution? The Gatsby and DataCandy integration.
Yeah, I can speak to you about averages that we've seen following the pilot. So, and I'm going to pull up my numbers here on the side. But
No worries.
so we had about 9 to 15% of new members on loyalty that actually wanted to add their Instagram handle. It is still new. We have to let your loyalty members also experience and understand the value of now non-transactional loyalty. They're very used to, you spend this much, you get this much. So those numbers didn't surprise us during the pilot, and we're excited to see how it goes for our clients now subscribing to the service. But we can expect up to about 15% of your new member registrations giving their handle. And once we have their handle, remember, that's what connects the solution together with Gatsby, right? So once they provided their handle, they went on, about 30% of those went on to follow the Instagram account of the brand. So we know that we're attracted to that offer, to that potential reward that came from it, and actually went on and added the handle. Followed the brand. But then when we looked at all of the Instagram followers that had been gained from the period of the pilot, that's really where we said, wow, there's really a big potential for brands here. And we saw that on average, about almost 50%, like 48% of all new followers on Instagram were actually loyalty members. So when we were looking at the earlier metric, that was just new member signups while we were measuring that, right? But we forget about all of those loyalty members that we already have in our database that are already, somewhat attached to our brand. And now we're getting them to go the other way and follow on Instagram. So 50% of new followers of a period being a loyalty program member, to me, was mind blowing. That was really exciting.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I remember some stats too. I don't have them offhand, but the UGC too was with the people posting content and getting some real impressions. I mean, there are people that maybe they didn't think to tag the brand, and now seeing right there an offer to do it, they posted some content. I remember some examples, and at least one person I remember from the pilot had like 40 or 50,000 followers, and there was some significant reach that the brand gained, all passively. And so that's kind of, there is this element of like, I don't want to say treasure hunting, but there's this element of like, there's going to be a minority of the people who actually have an outsized influence on your social media sort of exposure. And so yeah, it's just really awesome to see who you're going to identify, because you don't know your customers. You don't know which of your customers have influence unless you get their handle. And then when you see some of them actually go and post content, you can actually see the impact of that influence. Um, I don't know, just it's really exciting to see this development of this partnership and what it can do for brands.
It's a good point, actually. You don't really think about that, right? There's a lot of, content creators out there that could also be like, following your brand and posting and a small, like, loyalty point. Hey, here's 100 points for following us and tagging us in a story. It might not seem like it might not seem like a lot at the time, but that person or that content creator might have, tens of thousands of followers, if not more, and they're putting that message out there and they're putting that brand out there. So it's almost like free marketing in a sense, right? It's almost like free influencer marketing in a sense, right? So
Exactly. And I would add, why not then make your, I know promoting a loyalty program is hard. Now, as Brett said, there's so many brands out there. There's so many loyalty programs out there. I think there was a stat around, a person can usually is member of at least 13 loyalty programs. So how do I differentiate my brand? And out of those 13, about 7 of them are used. So how do I become one of those 7 core brands that get those members to come back? Is by thinking about that reach, thinking about that social capital they can earn or they can raise on social media, and having them keep your brand top of mind.
And an idea too is I've learned from all the different clients we work with, whether it be from this specific use case or just broader, is that those that are the brands that are the most engaged with this community get the most out of it. So for example, Data Candy has made it really simple to spin up a campaign around this, right? So like to Stephanie's point, let's say you're opening up a new location or you're about to launch a new product or a new menu item. You could you could literally say like, hey, this month we're offering triple points for mentions. Like over the next 30 days, come to our new location, try out our new croissant, and post about it for triple points. Like that's the kind of stuff you could do to like have them coming back. And that's a marketing message that you can send them without looking salesy either. It's about engagement and building a relationship. It's just the opportunities here continue to grow and compound as you think about all the ways you can connect the dots between social and loyalty.
100%. I wanna sort of like ask a question, and then I want to sort of jump to Q&A because I think we're getting some questions coming in, which is great, and I want to have a little bit more time for Q&A if we need it. Um, but let's say I'm a mid-sized brand right now, right? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is great. Like, where do I start?
I can answer to that. So
Sure.
if I don't have a loyalty program, I get a loyalty program, right? Preferably with Data Candy. It is such a great tool to own your own communication channel, like Brett was saying. And then to make your loyalty program an integral part for those that already have one, you need to make that an integral part of your marketing, promotional calendar, and budget. Like if you don't spend time speaking about it and also utilizing all the platforms that you do already have to promote that and to create that, that's something that's super important. It sounds simple, but like I said, a lot of brands are not even posting about loyalty on their socials, which is like such a easy
Hmm.
thing to do.
You know, Stephanie, that sounds like a good segue to maybe offer a glimpse into what we're about to release as well.
Yes.
Um, so I guess I'll speak to it. So yeah, to Stephanie's point, there is an opportunity. So right now, currently, a member, your loyalty member in Data Candy can supply their Instagram handle through a form, right? Through the Data Candy loyalty form. But now there's also going to be an option very soon coming out where from Instagram itself, you can start to talk about your loyalty program. Like, hey, we have a new loyalty program or we're expanding our loyalty program. DM us the keyword loyalty, whatever keyword you want, to join it now. They can join your program without even leaving Instagram. So that's coming out again very, very soon for the Data Candy Gatsby integration.
That's amazing. That's exciting, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because you can automatically tap into like members that are follow or people or customers that are following you on Instagram or whatever, and then but they're not actually a loyalty member just yet, so they can become a loyalty member before even
Hmm.
visiting you.
Yep.
Okay, this was great. I want to dive into some Q&A. I know we've gotten a few here that have come through, so let's start with the first question here, and feel free, Steph or Brett, whoever wants to jump in and answer this. But the first question is, what are some overlooked KPIs that can signal strong customer loyalty?
I can speak on, loyalty program metrics. Usually, what we like to see is, of course, I mentioned active members. That is still true. How many members come actively and come back and actually transact with you. But those, I think people take a look at that a lot often. You can look at also redemption rates. Like it seems simple, but not everybody kind of takes a look at are my members, yes, they're accumulating, yes, they're transacting, but are they actually using their rewards? Like, do they actually like what I'm offering them? That's what this signals, right? So sometimes we need to stop and think, and we're throwing discounts at them, we're throwing points, or we're throwing, different things, and they don't actually want to utilize it. But then when it comes to engagement, like the whole aspect of social media engagement is also something that now we can leverage with the solution and really measure like, okay, are they actually tagging me in things? Am I actually, how many points I'm actually rewarding them with? Like how much activity or how much in promotional opt-in am I getting from these specific offers as well?
Awesome. Okay, next question. We are integrated with a cluster POS and have had some recent difficulties with our loyalty program. How does this third interface interact, and what are the potential problems we could face?
Well, that's the beauty of it. I'll take that one too because it's related to DataCandy integrations. But the beauty of this is it's non-transactional in nature, right? So whatever POS experience or issues you're having today, this kind of runs outside of that. So this is really about the member giving you their handle. They're going and interacting with your brand on Instagram, and that's what's giving the points. So the points are automatically loaded on the card. There's really no POS involvement, if you will, on that, which we're very used to being limited by for our promotions that are more transactional things.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, because I think a lot of times you look at the POS that you have, and you wonder if this works with it or if it doesn't work with it, because there's a lot of solutions and technologies that are out there. Um, but yeah, that's a pretty good question.
And I think, sorry, just to finish on that, I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah, for sure.
it's super interesting because what we've built with Gatsby is really an independent integration, right? So it gives you access that whatever tech stack you have in place, you can easily take that and use that for your loyalty program.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Okay, the next question we have here is, what does the ROI of a modern loyalty program look like, and how can you prove it to stakeholders?
That's a great question. So, I mean, they're all loyalty, which means you guys are known and well versed on loyalty, which is great. So ROI usually, it's difficult to measure as a benchmark simply because of so many variables that come into play in their industry that you're in, the margins that you actually make out of your products, or even how much marketing budget is allocated to your loyalty. All of those things, that make your loyalty program successful, such as marketing, staff, involvement, that your staff actually speaks about the loyalty program, all play a part in how much return you actually see from your loyalty program. So it's hard for me to answer this one to tell you like what is a good ROI and how to measure that, but I can give you the factors that you should look
Mm,
into, of course, which is your cost of your program, and that the cost involves, you know, your platform fees, so platforms like DataCandy, what you pay for that, what you the cost of your points and the liability of your rewards, right? All of those free points that you give have a monetary value. So you have to consider that in the cost of your programs. And of course, the marketing efforts you're placing specifically on the DataCandy. So all that is part of your cost. And now your return is really your member sales, like how much
mhm.
of your loyalty members are making. And tools like DataCandy can help you measure that fairly easily with our reporting. So we can tell you, in last year, you made this many thousands or millions on member sales specifically. So you can measure that a little bit more easy and see that return there. And I think it becomes even more interesting when you start measuring deeper KPIs when it comes to, what are non-member spending versus member spending. And that's what's really moves stakeholders. It's really the number and the gap of how much more I can get them to spend and how much more I can get them to visit when they're loyalty members and non. So that's really what has convinced stakeholders in the past.
I love it. Okay, the next question is, what is the smartest use of automation and AI in loyalty programs right now?
Well, I have a little bias. I think this is one of the smarter uses of automation personally. I mean, this integration is fully automated as far as collecting once you get the handle from the person, tracking the follow, the DM automation, and then tracking the mention. All that's automatically done through Gatsby and then syncing over to DataCandy. So I think that this add-on to the loyalty program is super smart. Gatsby does have some AI roadmap items. We want to get smarter at the UGC, like helping you to organize it and understand it at scale. But specifically for today's purposes, we don't need to discuss AI for this use case as much as just automation, which is powerful enough in this case.
100%.
Curious, Stephanie, if you have anything you want to add on that too, like even outside of
Yeah.
the Gatsby integration.
Yeah, I think, because loyalty is so closely attached to marketing, and we love, as marketers, I'm sure, or brand leaders or brand managers that have a million other hats as well sometimes, any automation that we can add that makes your life easier also is what Data Candy is looking for, right? So this is one example of it with this Gatsby integration where you just have to set it in our platform and it runs, right? You don't have to worry about does the integration connect? Have I connected it correctly? All of that is done at setup, and then you really can run these independently and just turn them on. And as easy as 15 minutes, you have your first Instagram offer available for your members, and you can post about it. I think that level of ease makes it really good for this specific feature. But in general, AI is such a buzzword for everything loyalty as well, and it's meant to make it easier and faster for you to be able to do things, which is also one of the goals that we have at Data Candy. So yes, smartest use of automation is anything that makes my life easier is essentially the smartest use.
Okay, last question before we wrap. So, how can we show franchisees the value of a rewards program to motivate them to actively promote it in store?
How can we show franchisees the value of a rewards program? I think the easiest way is to show them how much money they're making out of their loyalty members, really, because I think the hard part with balancing franchisee communications and opt-in is really demonstrating the value of loyalty. I've heard this time and time again for multiple of our clients that do have franchises. And the hard part is really demonstrating that the more you talk about the loyalty program to your staff, to the clients that come to you, the more you let them interact with that, the more successful your program is going to be and the more money you're going to make off of it. Because then your member, knows that they can go to this location. They're not going to have a problem using their loyalty program. They're going to be able to redeem their rewards, and they want to come back to those locations time and time again. But also they want to be informed. So if your staff or your franchises are not speaking about it, it makes it really hard at a brand level to actually increase that knowledge about loyalty to your customers. So they play an essential part. And I think those sale metrics, like member sales metrics and what they buy the most, and catering that to that demand makes it a little bit easier to have that talk with franchisees. And I know we spoke about ROI as well, which is a bit difficult, but if you start comparing to them and tell them those metrics of your non-loyalty members spend this much, but then your loyalty members spend this much, if we're able to get insights into that and give them that gap and that difference, I think that speaks volumes to the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, they are businesses of their own. They have their own, spending and budgets that they have to respect as well. So that helps.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, big thanks both Brett, Steph, and thank you guys for joining us today and taking the time to help us walk through this. To the audience, thank you for joining us as well. And if you guys are looking to modernize your loyalty program, make it more social, make it more personalized, or even more rewarding, then I guess this was your sign from this webinar. But if you wanted to get more information about Gatsby, you can visit gatsby.ai or you can visit datacandy.com. And until next time, keep building loyalty that actually means something. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.